All right guys, so we've got this Cuda Craft moving along really well. This boat initially came into the shop for a simple fuel tank installation, and it morphed into a huge project. As soon as they cut the deck out of this boat, we found out that they used pour foam throughout the entire hull of the boat. They never had any limber holes around the stringer areas, so they could let the water leave the contained areas. So this boat was actually getting water into certain spots and holding it. It was never able to get out unless it evaporated. That's probably what caused a premature tank erosion, which caused the boat to come into the shop in the first place. But once Roberto got all that foam cut out, cleaned all up, we found the stringers weren't even attached to the bottom of the hull. I mean, this thing really turned into one thing after another. But the guys were able to put it all back together. Now that it's all glass, solid, put in one piece, they went into the paint shop. Mike did an incredible job. He laid down all the paint. Everything's blended together really nice. Before we could deliver it to Ron, we've got to get this thing in the rigging bay and get it all assembled and put together. Sometimes when we take boats apart, we just put the old parts back in and it's a 1, 2, 3 operation. But this customer's actually added some extras and he wanted some rod holders installed in some different places on the boat. So I had to make it clear to Austin, when you go to mount that rod holder, depending on the angle of the rod holder you have, that rod holder could end up hitting the hull. So I had to explain to him about the degrees and the angles of the rod holders and make sure that he positions them properly. He might measure in the top and the center of the gunnel, but if he ends up putting that rod holder in the wrong spot, he could end up hitting the hull. And that would be a major mistake, because then I'd have to call Mike in to fix a fiberglass and gel coat repair, and that's just going to take time away from the project, and it's going to hurt my delivery time. So I had to go over with Steve a couple specific things that Ron wanted on this rigging job for the Cuda Craft. Now that Steve has an idea, he can get on with it and get this thing wrapped up.
The Cuda Craft just rolled into my rigging bay. We got to get this boat knocked out. This is for a guy down in the Keys. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on getting his live wells plumbed up. He's got 2 separate live wells. Actually 2 live wells, pretty cool idea, for 2 different colors. One's a blue and one's a brown. I didn't know that made a big difference in having different colors, but then again, I'm not a professional fishing guide. I'm a professional boat builder. But anyways, I'm going to do what he wants to do. He wanted separate pickups on each one of these live wells. You want to get the correct hole size for the threaded pipe that's going through the boat, because you want a good tight fit. You don't want water coming into your boat other than going into your live well. So I'm going to get a correct size, high-speed pickup. These are designed to flow water to your live well while you're up and running without a pump. Got these all sealed up, installed. I'm going to move on installing the ball valves. Of course, you want to put some pipe dope on it when you screw them down. Well, the reason you want to use a ball valve on top of your pickup is in case your pump breaks, cracks, a hose come off, because when you're up and running, it's forcing water into the live well. And if you lose the pump and you're not aware of it, you can sink your boat. So that you can go back there and shut the water off, and you ain't going to have no water coming through that high-speed pickup anymore. Once I got them installed, now I'm going to move on to plumbing the hosing to a spray head in each live well. And I'm also going to install an overflow for the live well. The live well will fill up to a certain point and it will constantly flow out. Well, usually on your overflows, you want to go a little bit bigger size. Normally, when I use a spray head that has a 3/4 inch hose, I will go with an 1.5 inch overflow. So I usually put the overflow a little below the spray head. As it's hitting the water, it's going to create an aerator effect. So you never want your overflow to go over your spray head. You want to keep it below it. So I got all that done. Now I am going to put he wanted the aerators in each one of these live wells too, so I'm going to install them. Real easy to install. You just got a little pump that you mount down in the boat, and you put a small little hose, 1/4 inch hose that you run into the live well on a little strip down to a stone that's going to disperse the air evenly at the bottom of the live well. Well, it's great to have an aerator system, because the more oxygen you have in the water for your bait fish and shrimp and stuff, the more lively they're going to be. And just like I said, he's a guy down in the Keys, and good active live bait is better than a sluggish live bait, and it's good to have an aerator.
So Steve's doing a really good job on the wiring in the back transom area of this boat. I've got to get him up to the console. There's a couple of new features I'm going to do Ron has no idea about. He's really going to love them. As soon as Steve wraps up the back, he can get up into the forward part of the boat and we'll get this thing rolling.